Hey lovelies, it's your Swan creator bringing you a brand new video. So I would just like to say thank you guys so much for all the love in last week's video. I wasn't expecting it, but I am very happy by it. And I decided to take you guys up and decided to do something else that I actually wanted to do, and that is talk about books. Because I love books. Books is awesome. Just mute the prop cup again. It's just for comfort. So I already mentioned this book once already, and I talked about it very briefly in one of my past vlogs, but I just need to talk about it again. It was that bad. It was that bad. So in a synopsis, a wrap up of the book, it seemed to make a controlling boyfriend or controlling man cute, and I just couldn't get it. A lot of people seem to think abuse is when somebody physically hit you. No. Scars run deep, people. Okay, scars run deep. Emotional abuse is a thing. Alright, so I'm going to read you what the book said it was about, and then I'm going to tell you how the book happened, and then I'm going to tell you my thoughts about the book. So first of all, I just want to show you guys. Oh wait, can you even see it? No. Look at this month's wallpaper. Look how cute. It's cake. It's chocolate cake. I like chocolate cake. Was that cheese from Foster Home for Imaginary Kids? Anyhow. Oh wait, I got back down. Let's okay. Hey, light. Melted now. So let's go to Goodreads, and here is the book description. Oh yeah, first I should tell you guys what's the name of the book. So the book is The Happy Ever After Playlist by Abby Jimenez. Okay. This is the second book in the Friend Zone series, and this is the only one that was pure tutu. The rest was like, alright, so here's this. 2 years after losing her fiance, Sloan, S-L-O-A-N, Monroe, still can't seem to get her life back on track. But one troublemaking pup with a take me home look in his eyes is about to change everything. With her new pet by her side, Sloan finally starts to feel more like herself. Then, after weeks of unanswered text, Tucker's owner reaches out. He's a musician and on tour in Australia. And bottom line, he wants Tucker back. Well, Sloan's not about to give up her dog without a fight. You go, girl. As their flirty texts turn into long phone calls. Sloan can't deny a connection. Oh, damn. There's no telling what could happen when they meet in person. The question is, with his music career on the rise, how long will Jason really stick around? And is it possible for Sloan to survive another heartbreak? Damn, that sounds good. That sounds really good. Maybe that's why I pick up the book, because that sounds good. That is not what I got. What they promised me is not what I got. Okay, so after reading this description, let me explain what I was expecting, because if you'd read books on a regular, you guys will watch the cover of the book, and you'll even read the description and have your own idea of how the book will go. And the real fun thing about it is how the author will go about writing the story, because every romance story seems to already happen. We know the plot line, we know when they're going to fall out, when they're going to get together, all kind of stuff. We all anticipate that if you read a lot of romance books like I do. So we kind of have an anticipation of what's going to happen. Even if it's deviant, it's like, oh, it's cool, but we all have an expectation of how the book is going to happen. This book did nothing like that. What was in that description is not what happened. And so here's my anticipation for the book. the girl lost her fiance, and in her depressive state she found the dog. The dog brought life and meaning back into her life, and then the owner came back and he was like, hey, I want my dog. And then because he's on tour, they talk while he's not in the area, so they became like, you know, long distance friends, or pen pals as you could say, but phone pals. And I don't know how to be friends. And then as they were getting closer to meeting each other in person, she realized that, oh my god, my fiance, and I feel like I'm betraying him, and I don't really know his sense of it, but he's like, oh my god, the tour is coming to an end, and what if she's not like how she is? What if she's a stalker? Because, you know, he's a musician, so he might have fans and stuff. And they meet and then they like each other, and then maybe him going back on tour, because they mentioned that him going back on tour is what make them fall out, and then they want to have like joint custody of the dog because they both love the dog and found the dog or whatever. And then let's say, since he's the lawful owner of the dog, he gets to keep the dog, and then the dog, realizing that the girl wasn't coming, ran off, and then he called her, was like, did you see the dog? And then in trying to find the dog is when they come back together and realize, oh my god, I can't live without you, and she's like, I can live without you too, and they make things work. The end. That was my synopsis. That is what I thought I was getting with this book. I got nothing like that. So from here on, spoilers about the actual storyline of the book. Okay? So in the beginning of the book, she's in a car driving to the grave of her fiance who died in a motorcycle accident. She had crippling depression, and it have another name for it, but I can't dig through that book right now to look for it. But it's the kind of depression where you literally cannot take care of yourself. You need somebody around you. It's where you lose track of days, you neglect yourself, you cry. It's really bad. I understand that type of depression. No, I never had that, but I understand that type of depression. And her friends, her best friend was taking care of her, as well as her fiance's best friend. They got together. That's the first book. First book is first and third book. But anyway, we're not talking about those books. So on her way to her fiance's grave for the last time, that's what they said, which I was thinking, this is what I'm thinking, that she was going to complete or attempt unaliving herself. So, because the way the beginning of the book was awesome, but anyhow, the way they was talking about it, like that was going on. And at an intersection where she was stopped for a red light, a dog jumped on the hood of her car, and she was startled, and she has a convertible. It's a convertible, that the one with the roof could come down, and it's an old broken down convertible, which is something from the first book. But anyway, and the dog climbed up from the hood of the car that he jumped on onto the windshield into her car and started ripping up the stuff. And a police officer came up to her and was like, hey, you can't have a dog, or something like that because of it. And she's like, this is not my dog. And he's looking at the dog because the dog looked like he's at home, and he's like, yeah, sure, here's a ticket. And then she started to laugh maniacally, because that's what she does when she's in a stressful situation. Her action does not equal to the situation. So the cop watching her like, she's crazy, and I think he didn't give her the ticket. You know, she's white. But so she went home and she's like, okay, I have a dog now. And on the collar of the dog, it has his name and the contact info for his owner. So she continuously called the owner, and he wasn't answering the phone, or they weren't answering the phone. So she told him, hey, I've been calling you for weeks. This dog is mine now. Bye-bye. And then we get a shift to Jason, who is the love interest. He's toxic. Who was like, wait. When he finally get off the plane, because he was on tour, and then he has to be on a plane, he realized that he has all these missed messages. And it first one from his girlfriend, and then it was from some stranger saying she has this dog. So he called his girlfriend first because she was the person he left his dog with. And she's like, and he's like, hey, where's my dog? And she's like, I don't know. And she lost the dog and she didn't care. And he's like, okay, I'm breaking up with you. And then he keep calling back Saloon, and Saloon was like, oh, are you sure you really love this dog? Then prove it. And then he was to prove it, and then they liked each other on the spot date. Okay, cool. After that, they were talking on the phone because they made an arrangement that she will watch Tucker until he comes back 3 weeks later from tour, and then he'll get back his dog. And he was like, okay, cool. And she's like, okay, cool. And then they started talking because apparently the dog is a hunting dog. That's how it came up. And then he told her to go to a blog where he and the dog just live off the land. And then she told him to go to this blog because I cook this, and apparently she is a cooking survivalist. And then for how long they talked about this and how he was Google Gagaing that over that she is the blogger, the cooking blogger. I thought that was a big part of the book. It was not. It had absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the book. Apparently she's an artist. They talk about, like, in chapters about her being a survivalist cook and how he likes to do survival things with the dog. He and his family grew up like that, and then it had absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the book. So they set that up. If it was just like I do this cooking blog, and I do this, and I'd be like, alright then, cool. It's just like they're getting to know each other. But they literally set it up like if that's a big part of the book, and then I learn she's an artist. And I'm like, then why did you waste my time with all this information about the cooking? Anyhow, when it's time to meet in real life now, she had to, she and her fiance bought a broken down house to fix up, as a fixer-upper for the marriage. And something I should mention, she lost her fiance in a very horrific way. You will learn about it in the first book. So it was like a motorcycle accident. He was in a forced coma for weeks, and then he got a blood clot and he went brain dead. And his parents refused to take him off to donate his organs because they think a miracle will happen. But when you're brain dead, your organs slowly starts to shut down. It's machines that keep in your organs keep moving, but without the brain, it shuts down. So she was like, he's a firefighter, he would have wanted his organs donated, and his parents was like, no. And since she had no power at all, she just felt lost. So when he died and she was trying to convince his parents, and they were like, no, we're the ones who have the power of attorney or whatever. So she just told her friend they don't want to give him up, and that's how she sit down for the rest of the book. That's when she went into depressive state. She lost the love of her life. She has no rights to him, no rights to making decision for him. And they were very, very close to their wedding day. They were like a week away from the wedding day when he got in the accident. So that's a background of why she was super depressed. And the broken down house, she's still holding on to it because it's a time capsule of their lives together. Wherever he left his stuff before the accident, it's right where it is 2 years later, even if it's covered in dust. So that was an important part of the story, the way it was going in the beginning before it changed. But anyhow, so the day they were supposed to meet, she was smart and was like saying, hey, let's meet at a Starbucks at the way in my house. He was like, he wanted to meet her because he fall in love with her and she fall in love with him. And then a pipe burst in her house and she couldn't go, and he was like, tell me her address. And she was like, no. He's like, tell me your address. She's like, alright. And he came over to the house and he stopped the leak, and she was embarrassed because the house is a mess and she has her husband, well, fiance's stuff around, and she had a breakdown, and he was like, it's okay, it's alright, blah 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 blah. And then he started fixing things around the house and they started talking and stuff. And then apparently they really loved each other, and he flew her out to meet his parents. And I'm not even talking weeks later, I'm talking days. And her best friend was totally going along with it, was like, oh my god, it seems he loves you. You should go ahead with him. This dude you just met days ago in real life, but only been talking for like 3 weeks on the phone. Her best friend, who's been taking care of her for 2 years, was like, yeah, go ahead and meet his parents after seeing him in real life for 5 days, maybe a week. Which got me mad after reading the first book, but anyhow, I digress. And they go out to meet the parents. They're going back to the survivalist thing and cooking, which have absolutely nothing to do with it. And then he took her to his land, and they made the horizontal monkey dance, and she fell in love with him. And then she realized when she goes home, she can get rid of all her fiance stuff because he has the magic stick. He hit her with once, hit her with twice, all of her depression gone. He has the magic. What? Magic. Aha, aha. He has the magic stick. I keep calling it that because apparently after being dipped down by him, her depression is gone. 2 years of her friends taking care of her, she can't get over the fiance's death. She meets this dude. Had sex with him once or twice while beating his parents after days of seeing each other in real life. And she's fine enough to get rid of her fiance's stuff. At that time, I was really enjoying the book, and then I had to sit up in bed like, what is going on here? Because I'm like, is this the cure for depression? Because I could have used that when I was in my depression state. I was one of the lucky ones where my depression came about because of the situation and the environment that I was in, and not because of a emotional or hormonal imbalance. I'm one of the lucky ones with that. Once I got out of that environment, I was fine. But just the implication, they didn't outright say it, but let's just say she was very depressed before she met him. She was still depressed when she was talking to him, and then she got his dick, and then all of a sudden the depression is gone. I'm just saying, they didn't outright say it, but that's the implication. He got the magic. What? Anyhow, so after the nice little dance, horizontal monkey dance they did, he has to go back on tour in like a week or 2 weeks. So, also I keep saying he has a magic stick too, because all of a sudden she turned from a irrational person with irrational thoughts and actions into this completely well-rounded human brain, like where she could think things out well, and as an adult, as a well-rounded adult. So she was like, okay, then in 2 weeks time he will go away, and then we would end this relationship, because long distance isn't the best. He'd be always on tour and always on this, and I have my life and my job and my friends. And wait, does she have family? I think she's the only child. I can't remember. Anyway, so she was like, okay, we'll have fun. And he keeps stressing out about how he wants to go on tour with her. And his manager was like, no, because his manager been married 5 times. He was like, she'll be miserable and it's unfair to her. And he was like, nah, we love each other. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It wasn't fine. Man, here. So, ooh, low battery. So, there was this crazy girl that the record label there was this disturbed girl that the record label wanted him to go on tour for, not because of music but because of the drama, because apparently nobody likes music anymore, so it was the drama. So they had a photo shoot together, and she kissed him, and paparazzi took a picture, and he knew that the paparazzi took the picture, and instead of going to salon and saying, hey, this crazy thing happened on work today, he instead was like, I'm just gonna ask her to go on tour with me, maybe she won't say about it. So when Salone sees that he was kissing a girl on tour, she confronts him about it, and instead of telling her the truth, he was like, oh, that what you getting on for? You're overreacting, you have to get over it. I'm a musician. You can't get mad about everything that's going on. And she's like, what? And she was like, listen, don't talk to me, okay? Leave me alone. I don't want to think any about this. And he's mad that she's mad that he didn't tell her about this girl, because they have a history. I think they used to date, and she used to stalk him, and she bust the windows out his car. So the thing that was not believable about this story was that this girl was just crazy. She was just crazy for no reason. Think about Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, and Paris Hilton smashed together times 10. That's how crazy this random girl, I can't remember her name, is. So let's call her Candy. Okay? Candy. That's how just wild and wacky Candy was. She had no rhyme or reason, no sense. It was just, she was just 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds for no reason. So of course Salone was rightfully angry, and she went to her friend for solace, and her friend was like, yeah, he lied, but he loves you. Yes, he told you that you're overreacting and crazy, but he loves you. You see that look in his eye? He loves you. So go on tour with him, because during that whole argument he asked you to go on tour, and he was mad that she was like, hey, I'm going to break up with you at the 2 weeks. And he's like, what? And he was like, you wasn't telling me. And she's like, you didn't even tell me that you were kissing this girl was stalking you. He's like, that ain't mean nothing, you were just going to break up to me. And I was like, oh my god. So her fears is not valid. She can't discuss it with him, but some girl could just grab him and kiss him and it'd be fine, because it's the life of a musician. So when I think, okay, cool, this is where they're going to break up and then they're going to grow by themselves so they could come back together. No. She went home after her unhelpful friend, who was so badass in the first book. I don't know why they make she just meek shit in the second one. I don't understand it. She went home and was in bed, and he couldn't leave her alone for a night. I can't remember when keys was exchanged, but she gave him a key to her house. And he went into her house with the key, slipped into bed with her, and when I'm thinking, okay, cool, this is when the fight is going to happen, she just turned around and was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, huh? And he was like, I'm so sorry too, and I forgive you. And then they did the next horizontal monkey dance. And then guess what? She put her house up for sale. She sold her old car that she had since she was a teenager. It was the first car she ever had, and sentimental value. And even when she fiancé, he offered to buy her a new car, and she never get rid of it because she's sentimental and have emotional attachment to things. But she got rid of the house, and she got rid of her car, and she left her friend, and she went on tour with him. And how is that healthy? And the book want to make it seem like she got over the death of her fiance and she's fine now, so she could go on tour with this dude that she only knew for, let's see, 3 weeks they talk on the phone, like 2 weeks. And the book want to say this is cute. Okay, my phone is dying and I need to charge it before I could come back to the second part of this book here, because it ain't done yet. And we're back. Charged. Okay, so where did I finish off? Oh yeah, she sold her house and her car. Everything she had sentimental reason, attachment to, and went on tour with him. And mind you, he's going on tour with the mentally disturbed girl named Candy. I think I named her Candy. Right, so he has to, she's opening the show. Like apparently when you're on tour, there's a person who opens the show for you. So Candy opens the show for him, and she's in the van just chilling. So she's basically totally dependent on him. That's abuse. And he's sad that she gave up her life for him, but he's happy that she's on the road with him supporting his dream. So the story totally moved away from what the description of the book said, where it's her healing and he's just a musician at the side. So the story totally came away from her. From here on out, we barely get her point of view and stuff. It's just him. And I was like, when did this book turned into being about him? He was like a bonus. He's not like the main character, so I didn't understand how the book just went into his direction and everything was about him. And then her losing her fiance and the depression just seemed to just fall out of the plot line. Yeah, I was like, so is she cured from her depression now? And then the dog, Tucker, is nowhere to be seen. So this book turned into a totally, completely different book. So they're on tour. She's miserable. He's miserable. And his tour manager is like, I told you not to bring your girl on the trip, especially when you just met. Tour manager. They put him out to be sleazy, but he's the only one with sense in this whole story. So I'm like, okay. So when they traveling to the next venue for the project, he was like, oh my gosh, she gave up her art for me, and she gave up her job and her car and her house, and I know how hard it was for her, so you know what I should give her? A baby. Yeah, he should give her a baby. So he was like, you know, I want to get pregnant. And she's like, I don't want to raise a child on the road. This turned into a huge argument. He's like, what, you don't want kids with me? And she's like, yeah, I want kids someday, but we're constantly on the road, we barely sleeping. This truck, she makes sensible sense, and he's upset because she's telling him no. And then she was like, you know what, we'll talk later on. He's like, no, I don't want to talk later on, I want to talk now. And she's like, dude, no. And they went to bed mad, and I'm like, okay then. Girl, I don't want to go to bed mad. Okay. So it's like, okay, that came out of left field. He's like, it's too early to get married, but it's not too early to get her pregnant. And then he's telling her this while she wasn't feeling good for past few weeks, not days, weeks. Weeks she's been feeling bad. And then nobody's calling the doctor, and I'm like, okay. So then she finally called the doctor, and she has an ear infection in both ears and something with her throat. I think something with her throat. And he looks so sad, like, oh my god, I can't believe she's sick and I didn't call the doctor. And then she saw his face and was like, no, it's not your fault, it's my fault. How many people who's in an abusive relationship likes to say that? Okay. Because she's like, it's my fault, it's my fault. It's like, it takes two to tango. And it's really weird that you never called the doctor from the beginning, because you're literally in the van whole day by yourself. You have absolutely nothing to do with his tour. You're just along for the ride. And then okay, I think as I mentioned in the beginning that her fiance died in a motorcycle accident. So when he brought her to his family place where they do the horizontal monkey dance the first time, he showed her a motorcycle that he have. He said he doesn't really ride it anymore because he always on tour. And she got deadly pale and was like, please tell me you're never going to ride this bike again. Please tell me you're never going to ride it. And he was like, I promise never to ride it. And she was like, oh. And she said, I know it's not you. I know it's not you. But that's terrifying, which is understandable. Her husband died. Oh, fiance died on a motorcycle accident. She's not fully recovered and she jumped into this relationship really fast. He doesn't have a magic thing. She's delusional. Oh, I need a breath after that one. And so in order for her to recover from the infection, because the living condition and the boss and the stress is what caused her to get sick, so he said, okay, you could go by my parents' house because she doesn't have a house a house of her own anymore, and she doesn't make her own money, so she's dependent on him. So he's like, okay, go by my parents so you can heal, and when you're better you'll come back. And when she was over there, when she was healing, she get a commission to paint something for somebody. And she say, when I'm finished with the commission, then I'll come back. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he just went in his mind that, oh, how she went deadly pale when she saw the bike. Does she really love me? Can I compete with a dead man? And I'm like, how did it reach into this? How is this story reaching there? He's jealous of a dead man. He's like, oh my God, does she really love me? Or is she just with me because something about the man? Would she ever really love me because she's already in love with the fiance? And I'm like, dude, he's dead. Even if she's in love with him, he's dead. He's not competition. He can't come back. He dead. But that thought process just come out in left field, and then when you think, oh, that's the falling out, no, next twist. So apparently Candy, or Cookie, I can't remember her name, Candy is not really crazy. She is very emboldened or very entangled with the record company, and the record company is the one that is making her out to seem crazy to sell records, because the more crazy she seems, the more record they sell. And because they have a contract with him, they want them to push together to, you know, to push the Candy onto him, so it will seem like he has a stalker, so people will be like, oh, they want him, you know, he's so popular, he has a stalker, so he can sell more records. And he's like, what is wrong? And they always just say the record company. The record company never had a face, it never had a CEO, it never had anybody. It was just the record company. That was it, the record company. So apparently he realized that the record company is the one that gave Candy his address so she could come to his house, his trailer. And oh yeah, he was living in a trailer. And the record company was also the one that pushed Candy to kiss him behind the scenes. So he's like, oh my gosh, the record company is so evil and it's so bad, and I must protect Salone from the record company who are evil. So Candy, not being able to handle the pressure because she was building up to leave the company, but her manager stole all of her money, so she's in debt, and she has to stay with the record company in order to get her money back. And it messed with her, and a way of controlling her was forcing drugs in her system, and she OD'd. And his way of protecting Salone from the evil record company, he had to break up with her. So instead of saying, hey, the record company is not going to release me from my contract in 6 months, and I have to continuously tour until 6 months, and I know how you hate it and I hate it and I don't want it anymore because the record company is evil, so stay by my parents while I get this situated too, right? So instead of talking to her as a human being, he's like, I must protect her. And he put the stalker girl Candy on the back of his bike, his motorcycle, and he drove it in front of the paparazzi alter the plot, and he makes Swan drive it in front of the paparazzi so they go see it, and she will see it back to his parents, and that is his way of saying we're broken up. So dramatic. For what? Because he knew that she wouldn't let it go, and he's trying to protect her, so he must break her heart to protect her. I'm like, dude, that is so out there. That didn't even make sense. It did not make sense. And then when you think, oh, that's it, no. 3 months later, this book really likes trees, like 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. 3 months later, God, this book is just going all over the place. He's continuously touring. He's supposed to like write, like have 3 albums or so, yeah. To get out of his contract, he's supposed to write a certain amount of albums in order to get out of his contract with the record company, so he can be free and be an independent musician and not have to, you know, answer to the record company, the evil record company. And I'm like, this story is so convoluted, and I'm like, what about her depression? So after his public breakup of her, which is so dumb, so dumb. After his public breakup with her, they mention in one sentence, after doing therapy, Salon feels better. And that was it. There was nothing else. And in the 3 months, she was painting up a storm, and she got so like renowned that she get her own gallery showing, which is like, that's amazing. She got her own gallery showing, and her friends who was pushing it like, I'm so sorry, but I really thought he loved you. This still with the same, he loved you. And they put her on a date with somebody, I don't know. He's the one of the main characters for the 3rd books, but he not really that important right now. So she went on a date with him, and then Jason, like, oh my god, I miss her so much, and he got tickets to her art show, and he showed up, and he's like, and he was heartbroken that she was with a man. I'm like, where is this story supposed to go? Because you publicly broke up with her and you're jealous that she's out with a man 3 months later. Anyhow, so he left the gallery, and he's fit mad that she's dating, that she's moved on. And he's like, I better go back to my show business and try to write these songs that he's not writing. And now the story turn again. Salon keeps dating Kristen. Let's call him Kristen. I can't remember his name, but he's the main character in the 3rd book. Kristen, and she's like, I really like you, but I'm in love with somebody else. He's like, yeah, I understand. I ain't feeling it either. And she's like, okay, friends, cool. That is it with she and Kristen. And then she gets a mysterious text message. He lied to you. Somebody they told with messaged Salon and said, he lied to you to protect you because the record company is evil and they're out to hurt you. You know, to sell. I was like, oh my god, I was like, this record company seemed more like Scar from, like, you know, some villain, some super villain who hides their face. So I'm like, this book is so dumb. So she tells her friends, and her friends is like, I knew it, I knew he loved you. Oh, he loved you. I'm like, bitch, shut up. You're not a good friend, shut up. He's like, he did it to protect you. And Salon's like, no. I can't remember how they reconciled. Oh wait, I remember. So he's in a hotel room or a motel for the night, and Crystal, Candy, I think I named her Candy, the crazy girl, I don't know how to say, the crazy girl, she came out of the rehab center. He put her in, and when he drove her for the bike, he put her in a rehab center, and she came out of the rehab center in just 3 months. I told you, a lot of trees. Was it 6 months? One of them. And apparently while she was in the joint, all she did was write songs. And her way of thanking him for giving her a ride, not, for giving her a ride, is by gifting him all the songs she wrote. So he was able to produce the album or albums for the record company. My bad, I messed up there. The record company. And he hugged and kissed on the cheek and was like, "You give me my freedom." And she's like, yeah, just get all these songs, just get this. And he was able to produce the album, and he was free of his contract. And then he ran to Salone, and I really can't remember how. And then Salone, it was just like, and I'm sitting up late in the night because I was really confused when the story turned to a left turn when she sold her house, and no, when she accepted him in the bed. And I was like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "Wait, where is this book going?" And then they reconciled. I can't remember how. I just knew I was pissed off. I think he showed up at her apartment or house, wherever she was, and he was like, "I love you and I love you too, and I'm sorry I lied, but the record company was evil, and the record company would have hurt you to sell albums." Does that how record companies work? Do they hurt people to make? Britney Spears exists in the middle of Latin. I don't know. So they reconnected after that. They kissed, they smooched, and they did a lot of horizontal monkey dances. Now, epilogue. How the book end, do you think? He's on tour, and she's pregnant. But it's okay, guys. These guys on tour have to move this heavy back lounger or lazy boy type chair for her to sit down in the backstage, so she could be comfortable while she's fat and pregnant, so she could put up her foot and be with him on tour. Oh, I think they got married too, but yeah. So look who got their wish. And his magic stick cured her of her depression. Just disappeared, never to be seen again. In depression, nice. No, it's not, it's horrible. Yeah, so that's the book. So the book turned from an emotionally damaged woman, depressed woman, meeting a dog, and then the dog leaded to a man, and then the man needed to the magic stick, which cured her depression. And then they went on tour where the evil record company wanted to hurt people in order to sell records. Does that make sense? Anyhow, and he broke up with her in a very public place, a very public way. And then they were broken apart, where he was still obsessed with her and still trying to write songs, but didn't write any songs to the record label. Then his stalker slash victim in this whole thing, she was the main victim in this whole thing, poor Candy, came out of rehab and gifted him all the songs she wrote, where she gets no money from it. And then he reconciles with Salone, and then he gets his way, where she's on tour with him and she's fat and pregnant, and they're married, and the dog gets mentioned here or there after that. The end. Now, let me tell you about my version or my interpretation of this book. I need to put some shades because I'm gonna get shady. Okay, guys, so this book is crap. This book is trash. If I could have given 0 stars, it would have gotten 0 stars. No, wait, 1 star, because the beginning of the book was so good. It was so good, guys. I don't know how it just turned into emotional abuse, decline, and then the author tried to make it sound cute. And this book already had me mad before I even read the first and the third book, which were perfect. Chef's kiss. Yes, I watch a lot of Watcher. And I'm like, especially reading the first book. I read the first book after this one, and the best friend that I keep telling him, oh, he loves you, so just forgive him for his bad habits. She was such a badass in the first book, but in the second book she was just too shy fool. It was like she was a completely different person. Oh yeah, all three books could be read separately. You don't need to read them in order or anything. They loosely connect to each other, loosely. And I'm just like, why is this author trying to make abuse sound cute? It's not. It's not. She had depression, like real crippling depression. And she met this dude and she was fine after doing the horizontal monkey dance? Huh? No. No. This story seemed like she had an idea. They even have the description of the book that was what the book was supposed to be, and then it turned into a rock star. Oh baby, I'm a rock star. I don't know if somebody told her, yeah, this story too boring, so you had to change it and go more to the rock star style, but it just didn't fit. Book sucked. Sucked balls. And what further infuriated me is that on Goodreads, everybody keeps saying, oh, this is so romantic, oh, it's so cute, oh my god, he really loved her. And I'm like, what? He didn't respect her boundaries. He expected her to give up her entire life to go on tour with him. He got mad at her for setting boundaries. She said, hey, we're not going to have kids on tour, and he got mad about that. He does not communicate. So when he found out that the record company was very manipulative, instead of talking to her, he just decided to be like, I must protect her. And then hurt her very badly in whatever. And then he took advantage of a emotionally abused girl, physically too, which is Candy. And he took her music, which is really hard to write, because I've tried to write some songs. It was really hard to write, and made an album with it so he could get his freedom, but Candy's still in lockdown with that. Oh wait, no, he gave her a job. I remember. He said, yeah, you could work with me now. You could come off. I will pay the record company to like release you from your contract, and because she owed them money and he owed them songs, so it was easier to get her out of the contract than him. And then he got his way at the end. His girlfriend turned into his wife, who is going on tour with him and making babies and making a baby for him. So this whole book was just brainwashing this girl into getting his way, this woman into getting his way. And people think that's cute. And then to make me more mad, they don't like the first book. They say it's a disaster. I don't understand. So getting to know someone beforehand, before you guys do the horizontal monkey dance, is bad? Make it make sense. Okay? Okay. So, all in all, this star got a 1 out of 5. Yes. 1, because the beginning of the book was awesome. Where they was just talking to each other and texting each other on the phone. Ugh. The tension build up in that was just beautiful. And then when they met is when it all went downhill. It was horrible. I don't know where that book went. I don't know. I want the version that I thought I was getting. Can she rewrite it? Can I rewrite it? No, I can't. Let me finish my own book. I can finish somebody else's book. Yeah, right. So all in all, you can read this, but be warned. you may get mad. You know, I encourage you guys to read it and see if you see my point of view, because I have not seen any of the reviews on Goodreads where anyone saw the abuse. All everybody's like, oh, it's so cute, he loves her. I was like, where? He did not respect anything about her. He did at the beginning, and then it just switched to everything have to be about him and him way, because I'm the musician and my career is more important than you. Okay then. So I got that off my chest. Hopefully. See, the first and the third book, read those. This book, you could skip it. It's skippable. You don't need to read it unless you want to get mad. So that's the end of this book review. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I know I talk a lot because I really like to go into details about books. They're really good. But this book was horrible. Let me know if you would like me to do a review on the first and third book, because I love those, and I think I have a new, you know, fetish, you know, where people actually get to know each other, you know, and then they had this sexual tension where they know they like each other, but something is keeping them apart, and they're like, I don't want to ruin it. And you know, I love Angus. I love angst. I just read the word in my head, ANGST, and I say Angus. I love Angus. It's like, and then when the misunderstanding just goes away and it's just, yeah, that's the first and third book. Second book, I don't tell you the whole thing anyhow. So thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble about this book that had me heated, even though I finished reading the book a while ago. And I would like to tell my patrons, YK, Emile Akoka, Harriet Shashaya, Jennifer Nix, me, Melene Walker, Rels Does Art, and Danielle. Thank you, lovelies, so much for your support. And here is this month's Patreon reward, guys. Ooh, it's food mermaid theme, or mermaid food theme. So it's centered around Coco, who is a chocolate cake mermaid, and her daughter Cupcake, who is a cupcake mermaid. And the sticker sheet is like, I want to eat it. And I showed you the wallpaper at the beginning. So if you want to sign up, you can see my Patreon down here, patreon.com/Swan_creates. And here, follow me on my socials, where every day I post a new video on TikTok about my mermaids, because I'm doing mermaid, and right now I am sick of doing mermaids. It's driving me crazy. So, but I already sketched them out, so I'm doing it anyhow. So thank you, lovely, so much for watching. And what book, please leave in the comments what book gets you heated but everybody seems to like it. Right reminds me, is this book, this book get me mad. So anyhow guys, leave it in the comments, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.